All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you would, make sure your cell phones turned off to your side. We're going to begin this commissioner's meeting. We're going to get it started with Coach Greg Catley.
Thank you, Deputy Wilson. Good evening, everybody. Before we get started, I've asked Commissioner Rowland if you would give the invocation, and then after that, we'll have the pledge. So, Commissioner Rowland, if you would, please.
Father, we're thankful for the day. It's beautiful sunshine that we had on a wonderful day. Well, it's a great day to be in Monroe County. Lord, we ask that put our hearts towards doing the things that are fruitful and good for this county and these citizens. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. The pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Abbott, if you'd give us a roll call, please.
Commissioner Ambrose?
Here.
Commissioner Davis?
Here.
Commissioner Rowland?
Here.
Chairman Tackler?
I'm here.
Commissioner Romani is not present.
That's right. Enjoyed hanging out with his family on spring break. We do have a quorum, though, and so I will call this meeting of the Monroe County Board of Commissioners order. I want to welcome everybody here tonight. Whether you're here for business at hand, whether you're here out of curiosity or in case you lost a bet, either way, we're glad to see you here. And hope y'all get something out this evening, meeting this evening. At this time, we'll go and move into new business, and we need to approve the agenda. There's a couple of changes that I know that need to be made. One is that we will not approve the minutes tonight. They are not; they've not been fully prepared, and so we'll probably I would expect them to be ready at the next meeting. Then from there, we need to, in item B, let's insert the Board of Assessors appointment that we need to make. Other than that, I know that item I, Hargett South, is it Hargett? Hargett South, that we're pulling that off for tonight, okay? Is that the only one we're pulling off tonight?
Mr. Chairman, we also need to postpone item J, the application for the transfer station. We've determined that the solid waste management plan for the county is applicable to that application, so I've spoken with their attorney, Tim Haley, and we'd like to postpone that application.
Okay, good. That's fine with the applicant. I say fine, but I mean the applicant understands and the attorney's fine with that too.
We do. Yeah, we appreciate it. I think that concludes our business, so we appreciate you guys.
That's right.
Thank you.
All right.
Those changes, I make a motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve the agenda with those changes. Got a second from Commissioner Davis. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? The agenda has been set. Move into the item B, which is now the Board of Assessors appointment. Jim, do you want to take this or you want me to?
Go ahead.
I'll go ahead. I got it. Sure. So Mr. Dennis Benson has been our Board of Assessors for a long while, and we appreciated his service. But he has resigned from that appointment, and because he's moved outside of Monroe County, so he's no longer eligible to be a Board of Assessors or an assessor on the board. And so the Board of Assessors wanted to nominate Ms. Gina Davies to fulfill the remaining term of Mr. Benson, which will expire on February 15, 2022. It'll be slightly less than a year. And this is on tonight's meeting. So what's the pleasure of the board based on this recommendation?
I make a motion to approve the ones that they asked for.
Okay. Got a motion to approve Ms. Davies. I got a second from Commissioner Davis. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? All right, please let Ms. Davies know. Appreciate her being willing to serve. All right, next item on the agenda is the American Rescue Plan Act 2021. Mr. Hedges.
This is an information only. No action is required by the board. Something that's come up since we met last. Everybody's heard about the $1.9 trillion that's been approved. This plan allocates $65.1 billion directly to counties based on the county's share of the population of the U.S. population. Monroe County is scheduled to receive $5,348,000 in two payments. The first payment of $2,674,000 will be received within 60 days of this bill being enacted, which was on March the 11th. So we should have that amount of money by May the 10th. The second payment, $2,674,000, will be made no earlier than 12 months after the first payment. So May of next year, 2022, we get the second half. Now the question comes down, what can you use this for? Very, very brief document came out of the federal government. You can use the money to respond to the public health emergency with respect to the COVID-19 or its negative economic impacts. Doesn't tell me a whole lot, government speak. Second use, providing premium pay to eligible workers of the county. Really has not been defined as to what eligible workers are. The third use would be for government services to the extent of a reduction in revenue. Again, more government speak. This one is very straightforward. Necessary investments in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. There are some restrictions. No funds shall be deposited into any pension fund. Failure to comply with federal law and related guidelines shall be required to repay the money back to the U.S. Treasury. Local governments are required to provide periodic reports yet to be defined by the federal government. The deadline to spend all of this money is December 31, 2024. The way forward on this is the U.S. Treasury will soon be providing guidance on eligible expenditures. ACCG is monitoring for updates. Counties are encouraged to visit the NATCO COVID-19 Recovery Clearinghouse for information and resources. And on that page, you'll find a 10-page letter that's been comprised from inquiries across the United States. That letter was sent to the Secretary of the Treasury, Ms. Yeltsin. So we've got some money coming. The first thing I believe we'll be using $2.7 million for is our share of the infrastructure for internet. That will be coming up very shortly for us. Mr. Chairman.
Good. Any questions for Mr. Hedges? Comments?
That's a nice one from the government.
Absolutely. All right, thank y'all. Next item on the agenda is the Monroe County Roads 5-year projection. Mr. Hedges. I'm sorry, mine says 5 years. Is it 10 years? Okay.
Okay, we had a Board of Commissioners retreat back in February, and in that retreat, there was a request for a 5 or 10-year plan that would address road improvements and funding that would be included into the annual Public Works budget. As a reminder from this slide, we have a total of 466 miles, 383 miles of that is asphalt, 77 miles is dirt. The bottom part of this slide shows the mileage, number of roads by district, and mileage. And the difference between the mileage of 514 versus 466 are those roads that are included in subdivisions that we maintain. Our Public Works Department has 22 full-time employees. There are no part-time or seasonal employees. We maintain 515 miles of road, 933 miles of ditches, 29 cement bridges, 2 wooden bridges, and we mow 2,300 acres of right-of-way several times a year. The annual budget for Public Works is for maintenance only. I went back as far as I could looking at budgets all the way back to the year 2010. And on average, we spend about $2.6 million a year just on maintenance, no improvements. And I think everyone would agree that our roads are in dire need of resurfacing to the point that more than 50% of all asphalt roads need our immediate attention. There are 3 options. You can increase ad valorem tax. You can seek approval from the voters to implement T-Splosh, or you can reduce services by 8.5% and take the funding for those services and apply it to roads. Let me show you what that would look like. A 1.25 mil increase on average is going to get you about $1.8 million a year in additional road funding. We'll continue to receive our LMIG money, continue to have 30% match. This is showing splosh funds, or the splosh funds that was included in the 2020 splosh. The issue there is that, you know, we bond all of our splosh funds, and we don't really get our road money until after we've gone through and made all of our annual payments. So basically, we can do 114 miles of road surfacing if we revert to the ad valorem tax. T-Splosh is the additional penny in sales tax. That will generate about $2.8 million a year. It's a 5-year tax. The reason it's a little bit less for 2022 is that if it's approved this year, it wouldn't go into effect until April of next year. The comparison between ad valorem and T-Splosh, T-Splosh brings in $4.6 million more in revenue over a 5-year period. And half of that is going to come from non-residents. You can pave 30 more miles of roads with the additional T-Splosh revenue compared to the increase in the ad valorem tax. I've read on social media that we should just stay within our budget, and to do that, you'd have to reduce services if you want to put money over towards roads. So here's what you'd have to do to reduce services. You have to eliminate the library. You have to close down animal control. You have to stop supporting the hospital. You have to completely close recreation. No more funding for economic development. You have to close all of the recycling centers, and you close the conference center. And you're still $130,000 short of what T-Splosh would bring in. As a reminder, T-Splosh is 1 cent additional sales tax. It's valid for 5 years. LMIG remains at 30% match. However, those T-Splosh funds can be used as the LMIG match, bringing up funds in the general fund. And if approved in November, the effective date will be April 1, 2022. This is a quote from a gentleman that I know quite well. His name's Corey Hall. He's the Transportation and Environmental Director for the Southern Georgia Regional Commission. And he's been involved in T-Splosh since day one of 2012. He said, of course, every county is different, but in Lowndes County, and I think most of them along the I-75 corridor, they, meaning the Georgia Department of Revenue, estimates that just over 50% of splosh revenue comes from non-residents. I would imagine that counties further away from the interstate is much less than that. For your county, I would suspect it would be close to 50% non-resident generated. So for consideration, moving forward, calling the November the 2nd, 2021 referendum for T-Splosh, and in August, we'll be asked to consider setting the millage rate to include an increased amount dedicated to road service. This is what the timeline looks like. We've been down this road before. At the next meeting on Tuesday, April the 20th, we would bring forward the project review, and it would be the same as it's been in the past, resurfacing as many roads in the county as possible. You'd review that one more time on May the 19th. You then have to call a meeting between the Board of Commissioners and municipalities. You hold that meeting and discuss everyone's projects. You're then required to get that information to the registrar by Wednesday, August the 3rd. The next thing is on August the 17th, you'll be asked to set the 2021 millage rate. Property taxes would be issued on October the 20th. And then there would be the election on November the 2nd. On December 20th property taxes. So sandwiched in between setting the millage rate and issuing bills is the election. Tonight, what I'm asking the board to consider is to proceed with the process for calling a T-Splosh referendum for November the 2nd, 2021. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate that presentation. Any questions for Mr. Hedges?
What election will they have November?
I believe it was just a city election.
Just the city election? That's a bad time to put that on the election.
What was discussed at the retreat?
We discussed it at the retreat. We understand that. I mean, it's still, we wait another year to do it, we just get that further behind, much further behind.
We either get that further behind, or if we add 1.25 mil this year, and we don't do T-Splosh, that means immediately we'll have another 1.25 mil. And the quicker we can, I don't see an option. Basically, there's three options. One of which is we're not going to close down the recycle centers and the rec parks and all that stuff. So that option's out of the way. Basically have three other options. You do T-Splosh, or you raise taxes, or you do nothing. And I've said it and I'll say it publicly. If doing nothing is the answer, then I don't need to be here, because one of the most fundamental things that we do as commissioners is to take care of our roads. And if we're not going to take care of our roads, then we're just not doing our job. I mean, just bottom line. So, do you, obviously, if we're going to have any money for next year, there wouldn't be any other option than to raise taxes at the end.
But you're gonna have to do both this year. You're gonna have to raise the taxes, and then if the T-Splosh passes, then the next year, we can roll that tax increase back.
Absolutely.
But if that T-Splosh, and it's not gonna pass when it's just a city election.
Well, then the county has spoken, and they have said that I don't want a T-Splosh, I would rather increase my taxes. And there it is.
It's not the county speaking though.
Who is speaking that
Well,
election?
look, we've had this with a hospital. The hospital bill went on a city election only. And the people that did show up in the districts that weren't voting, voted that hospital down. But there was enough people to resident the city because the other people wouldn't come out when there's no vote applying to them. And the hospital bill got passed. And this T-Splosh will not pass on that city election.
I feel like this, we're all adults. And if we put that T-Splosh out there, and if people want it, they will make themselves available to come vote. If not, we done our job, and if we have to raise the taxes, then we have to raise it. Simple as that. If you want your roads fixed, come out and make yourself available and come out and vote on November 2nd.
I agree with you on that, but you're getting them out to vote is the hard thing.
It's not our responsibility to get people out to vote. They have a responsibility to do so. And it's not up to us to do that. It's up to us to give them the option. I'm looking at Mr. Vaughn, because I want to ask, one of the things, we've had T-Splosh on the ballot before. Local T-Splosh we've had twice. Is that correct? It's been very close both times, percentage-wise. There is some kind of legal restriction on the commission promoting it. I want to make sure that I'm clear about, or is there any type of restriction on us promoting the T-Splosh over raising ad valorem taxes?
I'm not aware of the commission, restriction on the commission putting out information to make the public aware that there's a T-Splosh out.
No, I got that, but it's both. But there is some type of restriction. Eddie, tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, I was thinking in one of our meetings there are some. I can say restrictions, rules, guidelines. Call it what you want. That say that we can't promote it. And if I'm wrong, good, because we need to do more. We have let some of the local media mislead people in the past about how wrong this is, when it really is the most logical thing to do. But, that being said, I want to make sure we do it the right way.
I'll be happy to look into it, but I don't anticipate it being different than a SPOS or an eSPOS, and I'm not aware of a restriction on that, but I will look.
I think our question was, you can inform but can't advocate. That was kind of the feeling that we were getting.
It was in an ACCG meeting that we were at. We've had this discussion. I'll work at it from our end, and if you want to check it on the legal end, I'd appreciate that. But I mean, and look, John, I understand what John's saying. That's the only issue. In practicality, sure, it's the only issue on the ballot. There'll be a lot of folks that won't show up. But we've been asked, or others in the community have been instructed to call our bluff on raising taxes. We're going to have to get the roads repaired the way they need to be repaired, to be safe for our constituents, for our children riding in school buses. We've got to get to work to get it done. It seemed like a slam dunk. It seemed terribly logical to.
And I think the voters need to know up front, we're going to raise it 1.25 mils this year to get some road funds. And if this T-SPLOS passes,
we roll it back.
But
Absolutely.
if the T-SPLOS fails, the next year we're going to have to go up again to bring in enough to fix these roads.
Well, let's understand the time. You set the millage rate on August 17th. Regardless of how T-SPLOS goes, the taxes will go up.
That's correct.
If T-SPLOS passes, that's not going to change
That
the
22
tax
dollars
bill that we'll get in December. What it will change is
is
the
the
tax
following
bill
year.
following.
But using that same logic, let's wait and put it on, the 2022 election, which would be a county-wide election. There will be different offices up for election then in the county. Now we've had to raise the millage rate for 2 years. You understand, before we have a chance to roll it back in the third year.
Because we've had this on 2 general elections and failed both times. Last time was very close, maybe 50, I think.
It was close. It was, the one before was much more of a city-only election.
But the only one I know we put on a city election only was a hospital, and it was a disaster.
And
Mr. Chair, while y'all been discussing, Mrs. Abbott has pointed me to an ACCG guidebook that says, basically what Commissioner Rowland just said, you cannot expend public funds to advocate a position on SPLOST. I'm assuming that would apply to T-SPLOST as well. But you can expend public funds to inform the public of what the projects would be, and that there is a T-SPLOST on the budget. So essentially what Commissioner Rowland says is correct. You can't advocate.
okay, so
You can't spend public funds to advocate. You can only spend public funds to inform.
Or we could hold off raising them and just keep tar and gravel in the holes.
we could keep patching them, sure. I mean, part of the maintenance side of things. Right now, we need to, based on the timeline, to meet the timeline, we need to make a motion or not. So what's the pleasure of the board?
I offer motion we proceed the process to call the T-spot referendum numbers.
Got a motion from Commissioner Davis. Do I have a second? Second. Commissioner Rowland. Now we're in discussion, which we've had some already, but any further discussion on that?
I just want to say I'm a taxpayer too, and I don't want my taxes to go up any more than you do. I don't want to do this any more than you guys or the 28,000 people out here do. But we have a responsibility to the people that drive on our roads, and the emergency vehicles that drive on our roads, and the school buses that drive on our roads, to take care of our roads. And there is no alternative to fixing our roads. We just have to do it.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just think that the T-SPLOST is a mandatory thing that's got to pass. Because these people running up down the interstate, getting off their exits, buying all the stuff, trashing our roads up, they throw the bags out. At least this way, they'd be paying, not all these taxpayers would be stuck with a bill. Somehow we gotta get that across to them.
I agree with that. Any further discussion?
I just piggyback off what Commissioner Rowland said, you know, I never know when my taxes go up, but we got to do something, or the road's gonna continue to go down, and it's gonna continue to cost us more money to fix, so do it now or later.
I'll call the question. All in favor? All right, that motion passes. Head, if you'll make the necessary arrangements moving forward. Next item on the agenda is courtroom audio video upgrade.
Before last, courts opened back up. I believe we had a murder trial and open days of trial. What's been brought to my attention by District Attorney Jonathan Adams is a number of deficiencies in the audio video equipment that's located in the courtroom. And this is not the first time he tells me that this has been reported. What they're requesting is the installation of video equipment that would include a 75-inch wall-mounted monitor for the jury, which will replace, you can believe this, a two-monitor television that they roll around on a cart. It would also provide monitors for the judge, the district attorney, and the defense table, where none currently exist. They're asking for 2 additional long throat port speakers. Being recommended, as well as the installation of 26 sound panels to improve the audio within that courtroom. Ken's Audio from Macon has submitted 2 estimates. One includes sound panels, one does not. Equipment installation is included. The price tag for this update is $18,937.99. This is an unbudgeted expenditure requiring board commissioner's approval. Funds will come from contingency. This is no different than the sound system in this facility that's going to be updated later in this week. So it's my recommendation that the board approve additional expenditures coming from contingency. Mr. Chairman.
It's a pleasure, Lord.
And that 2 bids, one bid was without part of the equipment, that was $16,000.
That's correct.
And with everything that they're needing and requesting is 18, right at 19,000.
That's correct.
And I tell you, our district attorney's done a fantastic job over there, and if it'll make their job easier, get the juries more informed, I think we need to go ahead. I'll make a motion for the full amount.
A motion approved with the full set of equipment. Do I have a second? A second. Got a second, Commissioner Bowman. We're in discussion. Just a quick side note, I've had a lot of discussions with District Attorney Adams. He definitely thinks that we need this installed and would very much appreciate it. And I believe he's correct, because I knew the gentleman that used to take care of some of this audio visual equipment in the shape that it was in. and it's definitely a needed upgrade. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? All right. We'll let District Attorney Adams, or do we do? Does he approve it? Or does he? Got it. Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda is item F, discretionary fund expenditure. Commissioner Davis, you have a request or something you'd like to tell us you want to support?
Yes, it was brought to my attention, the Monroe County Sheriff's Department Summer Youth Camp Program, and I would like to allocate $2,000 of my fund, of my discretionary funds towards that camp for the kids.
All right. For those that don't understand, each commissioner has some discretionary money that they can use for projects, things of that nature. This is a good example of one, but we do know that he does appreciate when we allocate or spend county money that we do have a vote by the board. So, got a motion to approve by Commissioner Ambrose. Got a second by Commissioner Rowland. Any discussion? It's good news. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great program. I've seen it in action. It's really good for so many of the kids from all around the county. They do a lot of great things, so it's a great idea to support it. Appreciative of you being willing to do so. Any other comments, questions for Commissioner Davis? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? All right, y'all will make that happen. Next item on the agenda, I think we've got the Kelsey Fortner show for a little while. Let's bring, you gonna come up, just, all right. And the first item on the agenda is the minor subdivision review for Woodlands, item G.
Have some papers here. A little easier to read. I have bigger copies, but these are just easier to read. They're all rich.
Oh, yes, sir.
Make these for you guys.
Thank you.
All right, give me just a second to get to this. Okay, so this is going to be a major subdivision because of the acreage amount, 571 acres. It's going to be Parks Road and Ingram Road. Property owner is USC Timber Holdings LLC, map 17007. It is consisting of 36 lots with a minimum of 3 acres for each lot all the way up to 56. That's the range. You'll have 3 private road creations: Woodlands Trail, Woodlands Pass, and Woodlands Lane. Parcel number 2 will access Woodlands Trail. Parcel number 7 will access Woodlands Pass. And parcel number 13 will access Woodlands Lane. It requires board approval due to the amount of lots being requested and also the creation of the private roads. And that's on the Google imagery on public.
David, this is your project,
Yes.
right? So, any questions? Comments?
Just in notes, and I'm trying to, it's pretty small, but I think I can read in here.
Now I have the bigger ones if y'all
Yeah,
want.
we got the bigger plats. This one does not have any dimensions on it, but it's just a little easier to
Just,
read.
if you got, can you read the notes for me? The mobile homes and
No mobile homes, no modular homes.
then the private road is the
Will not be
responsibility
maintained.
of
Yeah, this claim right there about the county,
There you go.
having to do any work on the roads. But it's okay, let me go ahead and make a comment. The actual survey that y'all are looking at is a total of 389 acres. So the seller actually kept the USC Timber Holdings actually kept 100 acres on the south side of Ingram Road there as access to another 500 acre tract that they have there. So what you're looking at in the plat that you have, which shows tracts 1 through 36, as Kelsey said, ranging from 3 to 56 acres, is a total of 389 acres. So the additional acres is not up for discussion of any kind of division. That is their access to 500 acres, which is located below that parcel. There's also a demand back up in that area of the county that does not have acreage tracts for sale. Too many folks that want to be on the west side of the interstate as opposed to the east side.
Question I have, on those 3 big lots, they got private road access to them, kind of like a flag lot, but now, are there plans in the future of breaking these up, making subdivisions out of them?
Absolutely not. No.
Because I know you can't, I think, Kelsey, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but if we make this subdivision like this, you could come in and access through here to make this subdivision. You'd have to come in a different way. But these lots here are on the original plot. And later on, if there's not some stipulations put, they could do that.
Well, John, what you're saying is correct. There is something in the ordinance that states that if you want a private road, you can divide 3 lots off that private road as long as the lots are 10 acres or more. You know, I would be glad to add that none of the 3 tracts could be re-subdivided. Now, sometimes you might get a family that might want to put more than one house. You might have a family buy 56 acres out there, and they might want to put 2 homes out there. So,
Wouldn't have any problem with that, just wouldn't want to see it.
So,
no, I'm fine with that. No, I wouldn't want anything to be subdivided back, and neither would the people up front, because that's a commitment I'm making to them. You know, what's behind me.
And then they'd have to come to us, through the zoning board to put another house in there.
That's what I was gonna say, there's also a portion of the subdivision ordinance that states if something like this comes before the board, then those 3 pieces where if they were asked to be broken up, would have to come back before the board. So, and that's also a precaution for, not to say that Mr. Aldridge is doing this, but to keep people from breaking them up and then coming over here later on and breaking this up and over here.
And those private roads are 60 foot,
Correct.
because it is a 30 foot, 20 foot, you break it up into 2. A 30 foot used to be 3 or 4, and a 60 foot, there's still a mountain you can break it up.
I just know it as 60 foot, I haven't known it to be smaller than that.
I know I went to court on a 20 foot one.
Private road requires 60 feet in the ordinance.
Okay, I'm just curious why you have a 60 foot right of way. That settles me as long as we can say he's not going to set it up.
bless you.
Any thoughts, questions, comments? I did have one comment too. I don't think we've got any water out in that area. Is that right? I mean, it's all going to be well accepted.
That's correct.
Just a question. All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve. I said,
Motion to approve by Commissioner Rowland, got a second by Commissioner Davis. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? All right, Mr. Aldridge.
Thank you.
Good job, thank you. Next item on the agenda is subdivision review, Maynard Woods. Ms. Porter.
Back up. This is the plat for this one.
Just for us, or is this?
I'm gonna have you sign it, so this way.
Okay.
Okay, this is a minor subdivision touching Maynard Mill Road and Highway 42 South. Its acreage amount is 128.22. Property owner Southern Land and I'm not saying it because I said it wrong the other day too, I apologize. Map 44, yes, thank you. Parcel 6A. It is a description of consisting of 9 parcels, all are 13 plus acres. Parcel 1A and 1B will have Maynard Mill Road frontage. Parcels 2 through 9 will have 42 South Road frontage. And it's coming before the board due to the amount of lots being requested.
Say it again about on lot 1 and 2.
make it real road.
The road splits, you're talking about parcel 1A?
Well, 1A's got it, how about 2? It doesn't have it.
No.
2 doesn't have it.
The road frontage?
Not on Maynard's Mill.
No, sir.
I
I just meant parcel 1A and 1B.
It's good to be there.
Right above Maynard Road, there's a little bitty sliver, and that is to be connected with parcel 1A and so.
Okay. Would 1B meet the requirements to build a house on it?
It would just have to, it couldn't be separated. It can be divided by that road, but it would have to be sold with parcel 1A, and it can't be separated.
But no house could be built on 1A.
Probably not. There's probably not enough buildings that can set backs.
1B.
Yes, Yes,
One
sir.
B doesn't have enough room on the setbacks.
Probably not
But
at all.
1B is an acre of land,
Yeah.
but the depth,
But what's the, hold on.
99 feet is L 53, which is, so it's 100 feet, much of the max.
And less than that, the rest of the setback off the road would have to be,
It would have to have at least 150 feet of building width, plus a 75 foot in the front, 75 in the back. It,
I mean,
it just needs to stick with parcel land.
I guess I question why they call it 1A and 1B, why don't you just call it parcel 1? If they can't build on it.
Mhm. I can definitely request that change.
I'd feel better with it.
Sure, I can do that.
yes, it makes it a lot.
So they have to be combined anyway.
So we are going to be running county water down here. I'm glad to see more residents here to take advantage of the county water. The only question I think it's beyond the scope of this commission because it is a state route, but they have to go through the state for driveway permits.
Driveway permits have already been approved.
They've already been approved. Did they do one for each lot? Or, you know, because over on 18, there was a subdivision that was in there, and they had one road for 2 lots. But they approved
Normally
one.
they like joint driveways, but these were approved on this drive.
Yeah, these are pretty wide roads, lots, 400 some feet, most of them. I had no problem with it.
It's pretty good straightaway right there.
Any other questions, comments?
Make a motion to approve.
And a motion approved by Commissioner Ambrose. Do I have a second? Second, Commissioner Rowland. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? All right, one more time. Make it happen. Thank you, Ms. Porter.
Thank you.
All right. The only other item under the business is the P&Z Dutch Creek LLC. So, Ms. Fortner, once again.
Just going through this. All right, this is going to be the application. It's a conditional use. It is going to be it says Allen Hayes Farm Road simply because the road sign in Monroe County says Allen Road. Our road file has both. So I just put it as both, so that way I make sure I cover it either way when it comes to advertising. Map 35, parcel 4A. The property owner is Dutch Creek LLC. The acreage amount is 54.73. It is zoned agricultural. The request is for a private cemetery. You'll see right here, the road frontage for 42 is right here, and then you turn on Allen Road, and they're wanting to put the proposed location over in this area, this strip in the back somewhere. The Planning and Zoning Board recommendation was for approval.
Where was the sticker to be placed on there?
If you look in your, thank you, yes, down there at the bottom, it's right, and that's the
See this
general little square.
Ambrose. See that? Couple of quick questions while they're still looking at it. First, and I show that it's being put clear. This says Hayes Farm Road. Did you say Allen? Okay, yeah, right. Allen Road. So, is the plan to put it up close to the road?
But is that still where the plan is to place it?
Yes, sir, just off the right of way that you can see in the picture.
Right here.
Yeah, it'd be,
Road.
the front edge of it would be probably about 60 feet or so off the road, off the
Okay.
dirt road.
So are there some rules or regulations about graveyards as it pertains to access, public access? They have to be given right.
They spoke about that in the planning and zoning meeting, that, they would have all that in the deed work. It's gonna be several family members that own the property, and they're gonna have access for all of them that is in the family for the graveyard as well. All of that will be reported.
Also, just for information purposes, we've addressed this, I think, one time since I've been up here. This comes off the tax digest,
Yes, sir. It's not taxable.
just the acreage,
Just the
not the
cemetery.
whole lot,
Mhm,
but
that's-
just the acreage
Just the cemetery
that
part.
is designated for.
Yes, sir.
And that little piece that you're showing there, that's not even gonna be a third of an acre, would it? It's showing it's in a 3.4 acres, but
What-
that's
what's
that
the
whole
size?
strip.
Yeah, what's the size?
I don't have, you mean wait for regulation purposes or what their size is?
What their plan is for the,
Probably around 1,000 square feet, so like less than an eighth of an acre.
They want to say that's a lot.
And this is for a private cemetery only,
Yes, sir.
Family
It'd be just for our
members, stuff like
families,
that.
is what we intend.
and y'all
So-
own the adjoining land too.
Yes, sir.
just, and so I started asking some questions. We probably
Oh, my
need,
apologies.
we actually didn't move into the public hearing. We can do that now, since you've given your presentation. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to move into a public hearing. Got a motion, I got a motion, Commissioner Ambrose, got a second, Commissioner Davis, all in favor? All right, now we're in the public hearing. We've had the presentation from this board. Ben, did you have any comments? Have something you wanted to say on this?
I was just gonna ask a question of whether the applicant intended to have that part of the property surveyed out.
I believe so, that was the intentions, correct? Yes, sir.
And I would just say that the board may want to make that a condition in the event y'all choose to approve it, so that it's clear of what the approval was for. And also, Mr. Chairman, in the event there's an application that be exempted, it's clear what portion of the property is being exempted.
So we're in a public hearing. Normally you have for and against. I'm assuming there's no one here against. And you're here, no one was here against it?
None so far.
No, right. I mean, no one was here against it in the planning and zoning meeting. There's none here against it tonight. Ben, what is your recommendation on the hearing?
If she would like to speak, she needs to be given the opportunity to speak. If not, y'all can close.
If you'd like to speak for it, you may. Otherwise, you can we'll just reserve the right to ask you more questions as we deem them necessary. Okay? Go ahead, you want to?
I would say other than just presenting this as what I was just, I need to get it back.
Well, you can use
The video can't hear you.
Use the mic.
Other than intending just to have this as a family plot, like I said, just family members, married and spouses will be the only people intended to be in the lot. It's not intended to be open to the public. We are in the process of getting the housing lots surveyed off now. Actually, the surveyor was working on it today, so I can get in touch with him and have the graveyard plot individually surveyed off.
Okay, and you're amenable to that if we ask for the condition that our county attorney has asked for about having the actual lot surveyed out. You're
Yes.
good with that?
Yes, sir. We were not entirely certain about if that needed to be like an officially set aside plot, or if it could be noted on the current deed for that area, for that plot.
Do we need
So
to?
it does need to be officially surveyed off as a regular.
Yes,
Okay.
that'd be my recommendation.
Sure, right. And is there any one of the part of that recommendation is do we need to set a limit for how big or small it needs to be?
That's up to the commission. You can make a limitation of how long.
I mean, I'm not trying to make it more difficult and create more hoops. I just want to make sure that we've done it right the first time, so to speak.
I have a question. Where it's down here on the bottom, it's part right in here on this. Who owns this tract of land right beside it?
I believe it's a timber company.
I guess they were notified. Council.
That's Crawford County.
And how far off the property line would a cemetery be? 50 feet, 20 feet? That's a new one on me.
I don't have any setbacks in the ordinance for it.
We shouldn't let it be set right on the property line.
It should be about 20 feet off the property line. I would have to go out there and measure it sufficient.
It's gonna go right there, this other property.
Now, the PDF image that's there is just an approximation. It's not exact.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, is that you're gonna have, off of that property line, you're gonna have it at least 20 feet off.
Okay. We'll make sure
Yeah,
it's-
you want What's our setback for garages, barns, anything else?
Garage 10 feet, pole barn 6.
Off of,
No problem there.
I'd feel better with 50 foot, at least 50 or 60 foot setback off the road and another 50 or 60 foot setback off that property line.
Okay. Are you okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Which one do you want, John? 50 or
Both.
60?
50, okay. 60 foot off the road, 60 foot off the property line.
Okay. All right. And then we'll let you come to us with the survey amounts, fine, because you're not planning to use the whole property.
No, sir.
The only reason I'm being so rough on that is we got a lot of abandoned cemeteries, and it's hard to do anything with them. You can't notify anybody. And so at least if we got them that far off, nobody's gonna be if it's on your property, but the other ones won't be. That's first one for me.
Why don't we put a size limit of quarter acre? That's 10,000, 11,000 square feet, isn't it?
Maximum size limit.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine, Commissioner.
Just mean it, I think we need to set the parameters, and then you can work inside of those as much as you want to.
Oh.
That makes sense. We said 1,000 square feet, that's, we're 10 times that size on what I'm talking about. Just that way it doesn't take up the whole, oh, well, we're just gonna put 3 acres worth of cemetery out there. All right, so, do I have a motion? I have a motion to approve the 60-foot setback from the southern, is that a southern property line and off the road, 60-foot setback, a surveyed plot or cemetery of no more than a quarter acre. I've got that motion, and you're okay with that.
I'm good with
Do I have a second? I saw your hand go up. Sound like an auction. I saw his hand go up. So anyway, I've got a motion and a second. Any more discussion on it?
You know, real quick, I just want to make sure. So these are 4 lots,
that. Yes, sir.
and y'all aren't living on this yet, right?
Not currently.
Okay, but this 4th lot where the graveyard is, and I mean, they probably already understand, but this lot 4 is gonna be a lot where somebody is gonna live plus the graveyard, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because I was wondering why it went back that far. Now, just curious, how many people live on Hayes Farm Road in Monroe County?
On Hayes Farm actually comes off of the road that our piece is on, so it's very confusing on the maps.
As soon as you cross over Crawford County, it's considered Hayes Farm Road.
Yeah, I would have to like pull up Google map and
So
There's nobody on that little portion of Allen Road in Monroe County.
for at least a mile.
Because
half a mile.
I know George wishes he was here when I say this, but I didn't even know that was in my district.
Just a little bit.
Who owns this?
That's Crawford County.
No, the remainder of it will
Oh,
be
I'm
in the Dutch Creek LLC, and it will be a group, our family.
It's your family.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir. We're surveying the individual lots out for housing so they can use collateral to build houses.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Oh, we need to come out of here.
Question, the clerk pointed out, Johnny to come out of the public
Right,
hearing.
that's
Need a
right.
motion.
As soon as I heard it, I was like, oh, yes.
So the motion to come out of public hearing.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. Now we're all in favor. We're out of the public hearing. Now I'll
I'll
entertain
make
that
a motion, we approve with a 60-foot setback from the roads, and 60-foot setback from the property on the south of it, and no more than a quarter acre for the cemetery.
Surveyed out.
Survey up.
You got the motion.
Second.
Then we'll take it away from Marcus. Roland's got the second. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you, ma'am. Yeah. All right. Do we have any old business? I don't believe we do. Public comments. What about the insurance agent in the room saying, got a builder over there too. And the engineer gets going, they'll be here all over.
Don't let the engineer get started.
All right, speak now, forever hold your peace. All right, the next item we have is, we do have a need to move into an executive session. So for all of y'all, we're going to do that. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to go into executive session for litigation and, first,
Litigation.
just
You
litigation.
don't have a
Thank you,
motion.
Dan.
Yes, sir.
Got a motion? Have a second? All in favor? All right, we're in executive session, so now we have to shut all the videos